I feel like this is normally the moment kind of in the year where when people are out of their season-long leagues, they start to kind of check out a little bit. But we had a lot of people waiting for us to go live here. So I feel like all is well in the ship chasing community, guys.
I hope so. It's
Gretch,
been
how
a
you
crazy
doing?
season. I feel like we're in good shape overall, but it doesn't like feel like it in a way. How do you guys feel?
Gretch?
I mean, it's been the one of the harder seasons to sort of put our thumb on, right? Like every one of these leagues is pretty balanced from top to bottom. Probably part of the reason people are still watching the show is because there's just not that many people that are eliminated yet. It's not because we do anything good; it's that everyone thinks they're still in it. Yeah. I mean, it's just been an interesting year. Like I have definitely some teams I'm excited about that look like they're going to be in the big dance. I was just doing a little bit of an inventory. Our ship chasing team, the one that was just the three of us, we have several with co-managers.
Let's not talk about that one.
That was dead scary. I went back to the
was
draft.
bad.
We went like Judy, Chenault, Boyd, Gallup, like 4 rounds in a row. Like
we were deciding between
2 busts.
We were like Gibson or Ridley. Just which way do you want to light my empire? And then Kittle was the other guy we talked about, so it wouldn't have.
Oh god. Well, I was looking. Yeah, our 3 worst teams across our portfolio are the ship stealing team with us 3. It's Pat and I's slow draft, the very first one we did.
And burned.
It's fucking trash.
Ours was slow too and early.
You're right.
Early? Yeah.
And then it's our Matic, our draft with Davis. Those are our 3 worst teams.
We knew week 1 that team sucked.
The thing is, it's so tilting to me. That's our one team with Jonathan Taylor on it.
Yeah,
it's fucking trash. It has Jonathan Taylor and Devontae Adams, and it's just
that's where I'm at this week with AJ Dillon. We have Dillon on our team, the 3 of us, and he's on another one of my teams with my other co-managers that is not going anywhere. And I'm like, fuck, man, I love Dillon, but I don't have him anywhere that's like looking great, like you're saying with Taylor.
Someone was talking about, I forget who came up, that someone was talking about like AJ Dillon and how we were on him, and I still have in my head that show we did with Bime for. It's probably like in July. I think it was like the week before we did the big dog draft together, and Gretch just like gave us the manifesto on AJ Dillon, and we were all like, yeah, we all like AJ Dillon, but Gretch likes him a little more than us, and we should like him as much as Gretch likes him. And then we're all like, fuck it, let's hammer AJ Dillon. And I think we all got gobs of him in best ball, which redacted, but he got expensive in FFPC, and I just feel like we didn't get as much of him as we wanted.
He got up into like the Debo range for a while, and it's like probably why some of those teams that I have Dillon on aren't doing so well, as those are the teams that I don't have Debo on. Like that's a pick that has helped a lot of teams.
We have some more of them though, don't we, Pete? I'm gonna check now. I think we got.
We have a few shares at AJ, but we only have one Jonathan Taylor.
Well, we have Taylor in the NFFC team though.
True.
Which is a big part of the reason that team's in first.
Yeah, it was like I just did a show with Friedman, and he was asking us about like our high stakes year and stuff like that, and it was interesting too, like thinking through. The 3 big league winners at wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, and Deebo Samuel. Like those are the best, like cost adjusted, smashes at wide receiver. And we have a bunch of, Deebo and Jamar Chase. But those were also guys that a lot of people who went heavy running back early were also drafted, right? Like if you started 3, you might have drafted Cooper Kupp, you might have drafted Chase. And so that's been, I feel like our teams are surging right now. We have a lot of teams that are really getting strong now that the kind of, volatility of the season is kicking in, but also not as great as I think we would have hoped the season would have gone.
Agreed. Yeah, I was talking to Davis. He had me on the Takecast this week, and just kind of pointing out that like even the Dillon thing happened so late. Like we get this past week. But it's like, you're really getting maybe like 2-3 weeks out of Dillon to make the playoffs in FFPC to where we're starting him, right? And then Connor came in pretty late. You maybe didn't even start him, right? Probably didn't start him the week he actually blew up. Then you put him in your lineup last week and he duds. So Connor hasn't really even helped us yet for any zero running back teams. And a lot of the guys were off of waiver wire, which helps you as a zero running back drafter. But in FFPC, everyone's very sharp. Everyone's knows that they need to be bidding on those same league-winning running backs because they're going to help them fill the flexes, even if they want running back heavy. So Elijah Mitchell, Cordell Patterson, like, weren't drafted a ton. And in a way that also kind of hurts or evens the playing field from, however you draft it, because it's available to everybody.
I like this comment from Weston. All my ship chasing inspired zero RB teams started rough, but now I'm absolutely devouring every team alive down the stretch. Like the shy hallude sandworm of Archer. I don't even get this.
Arrakis. That's we were talking about, dude. Arrakis. Obviously, you have not been walking around reading the source material.
Jesus. Oh,
dude,
man,
and that's true, man. Once that worm gets headed your way, you don't have a chance.
You don't have any chance. I will say, as you sit here and talk about Dillon, you talk about Connor, there are people that have both those guys, and there are people that have teams that are on the outside looking in with those guys. It feels like you're done because you didn't start hot and all those things. I do think this is the year where there are going to be teams that in these next couple of weeks, and especially if you're, obviously we're gearing more towards like FFPC here, but and there's only 2 weeks left there. But if you're in a regular league and maybe you have 4 more weeks until the playoffs or what have you, there are going to be teams that surge late is sort of the point that I'm making. And it is one thing, like if you have a great start and you get out to an early lead and you're fading the whole year, like that's not good. But it feels better than what kind of happens sometimes with zero RB where you surge late. Like if your best weeks come late, you're like, man, this season hasn't gone well and all this. I think we still might have some positive, more positive outcomes ahead of us is sort of what I'm saying.
Well, the story I think of our year is going to be, can we get some of the teams that are strongest to surge enough to get them in the playoffs? Because then we've got hammers in the playoffs and we're actually set up to like make some money in the playoffs, where I think there's going to be a lot of teams that sneak into the playoffs that had Derrick Henry. Like he was so good. He was so good early that he's going to put teams in the playoffs, but then it's, can they hold on? And it's such a weird year because like the thesis of zero running back to some extent is like, you don't want to be that team that's holding on when you get into the playoffs because you're not actually going to win the league. You want to be the team that surges in. But the dynamic of the way, like Henry actually played a long time and he was so good that like you almost right now still rather be that team than the team surging, because the team surging, it's like, no, the door's going to shut on a lot of those teams. They're not going to get in the playoffs at all. You still have to make the playoffs. I just think that this year is going to be one of those years where we kind of like all like fight to a draw. And then we like in the offseason, we're all going to have the zero running back people are going to have all of the same arguments because we got Connor, we got Dillon, we got a ton of waiver wire, probably one of the best years for waiver wire pickups ever. We got Rhamondre down the stretch now. Like, it's on and on and on. And then you also have like, Henry goes down. There's not really any one running back who's just like emerged as the had to have him guy. Christian McCaffrey struggled with injuries. Kamara wasn't what we hoped. So like the argument for zero running back kind of came through, but it came through in such a way that you're maybe glad you didn't go zero running back. And so we're all just going to have the same arguments all over again.
And I think one of the really key points there, because one of the things that we always say is you take enough receivers because you don't know necessarily who's going to hit, but you want the receivers in the first 10 rounds because that's where the elites are. That's where the guys that can be really great are. And that's proven true. But it has been a really weird year where a lot of the elites, the first, second round receivers particularly, where other people were taking running backs, and even we were taking running backs in some leagues, but first, second, even third round. I mean, like Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, none of these guys have had good years. And you go up higher. Jefferson has had one of
Hopkins
definitely, Ridley, DK. Jefferson's had one of the biggest like near misses years. He could be the wide receiver 1 right now, honestly. He's had so many near misses on big plays. But yeah, Diggs. I mean, there's so many guys up there that have
even Adams has been a little bit less, He
has. He's 5. I'm looking at the leaderboard right now. Kupp, Debo, and Chase are 3 of the top 4 receivers. They're all mid-round guys. You didn't have to really go full zero RB to get those guys. You could have done something more traditional.
That's what I mean. You could do whatever you want in round 1 through 3.
Right.
Well, and that's what and Debo is like, he was one of the guys that was our last wide receiver we would take in drafts. Like, he was the cutoff of like, all right, we took 6 or 7, like Debo's our last guy. And then it like the cliff really happens there. And, like you said, I wonder, Pat, the dynamic you were describing as far as this year of like, this push and pull of like the early running back teams got off to faster starts, but they're fading and crashing with injuries. The 0 RB teams, got off to a little bit slower starts, but are surging now. And if this season, the story of this season might be like, did you get Cooper Kupp? Did you get Debo Samuel? Like, did you just pick the right player?
Did you pick the right guys?
Those are the guys. That's the dominant strategy of this year.
Right, but then it's
a
like
strategy. That's not a strategy.
It's not a strategy. And if you step back and you think about what that actually means, what that actually means is essentially that our strategy was right. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I know that comes across as arrogant, but like, the idea of our entire strategy is you draft enough receivers because you know that these players are going to be very valuable. Someone in this range, right? It's not a guarantee that we have the ADP exactly right. A lot of it is uncertainty. We know there's going to be misses. That's why we have so much redundancy built in. There's two ways to look at this. Draft the best players, which could mean any position or any player at any position, or do what we do, which is get really, really heavy at receiver, and especially in those rounds, right? That's the running back dead zone. That's the round we're taking receivers, and we do have a lot of these guys. We didn't take as much Kupp as we probably should have. We have a lot of Chase, ton of Debo, and I mean, that's the biggest reason. Like a lot of my rosters are still doing very well is that I took enough receivers that it succeeded. And the idea is not that this is the perfect strategy or anything. It's that this is going to work more often than not, right? Like we got the wide receiver and it paid off.
With perfect knowledge of like, well, let's say like you have some knowledge of how the season's going to go. You'd probably go RB.
Yeah.
Draft a bunch of receivers like through round 7 or 8. And then just, hammer RB. Maybe you'd go Kelsey early, but no other tight ends, and just punt tight end too. So, like, I think
since the
not going running backs in the dead zone is important, but the argument for going wide receiver in round 1 and 2 didn't get strengthened by this season.
No, but one of the things we talked about in the offseason when we did all our draft shows was that, I mean, I know Sean and I talked a ton on stealing bananas, and Sean specifically would say that in many ways is, ideologically more similar to 0 RB, that, running back with hammering receiver than someone who does 0 RB, but only goes like 3 receivers and then starts hitting running back in round 4. Yeah. That's not 0 RB, and that's nothing. So like what you just described, I mean, we did stuff like that. We went running back, tight end, and then hammered receiver. I mean, that's something you guys love to do in the FFPCs.
Well,
like,
we like to do
dominant.
And I was going to say, of all the crises of faith or, rethinking stuff, like I have basically no regrets, except I'm really starting to rethink the elite tight end strategy part of this element, just because all of the knocks against it are, tight ends are just as prone to a lot of these injury rates as the running backs. The scoring is extremely volatile. And when you look back at the top tight ends this year, you had, Travis Kelce getting older. You had Darren Waller, which we've already seen like a series of like kind of spiked volatile production from him. You had Kyle Pitts, who was a rookie. There was lots of uncertainty. You had George Kittle, who didn't have a stellar injury record. And I don't want to be in the, injury prediction business, but I do think the same criticisms we levy at running backs, I think is decently, fair to levy against tight ends as well. And I do think that might be where we made some mistakes of forcing the early tight ends a lot this year.
I don't really agree with I think the thing with the early tight end strategy is it's just going to come down to like 3 guys. And, it's like, and in that sense, it's going to be very volatile year to year, because it's not like the early round running back strategy. There's so many early round running backs where it really just comes down to, did Kelsey get too old? Did Kittle stay healthy? Did the Waller thing finally turn into a mirage? And it's like, in years past, it's been the same thing. Like Gronk, can Gronk finally stay healthy this year? If Gronk stays healthy, he absolutely crushes win rates. If he gets hurt, he crushes you. So I think that's the deal that you make with early round tight end. And the reason that I'm more comfortable making it in some ways than the early round running back is that when you hit on that, especially in tight end premium, no one can catch you now. Like you have such an advantage in a way where, like, hitting on Jonathan Taylor or hitting on, a Najee Harris really helps you. But I don't think it's as powerful as when you have like Kelsey last year.
What do you think, Gretch?
I mean, I kind of like. I mean, I think the way it played out, certainly the way that you said it, Pete, makes a ton of sense. I think Pat also made really good points as well, that we have, such a small sample. But I know one thing I was saying in August, certainly, and I hadn't thought of this until you kind of said this, but one thing I said a lot in August when you made the comparison to running backs was that tight ends are a lot like running backs. There are similar injury risks, but if your tight end stays healthy, he's going to give you a positional advantage. Was sort of the point I kept making. We don't have to worry about them also being good. But we do have to worry about that, apparently. I mean, that's essentially how it played out. Travis Kelce and Darren Waller have not given us the positional advantage. Kittle got hurt, which wasn't great either. But Waller and Kelce have been healthy and not been that great. I mean, Kelce seems like he's coming on and was playing through a little bit of an injury. Waller's a tough one, man. Like, the volume's been there. The efficiency is cratered. Catch rate's way down. Yards per target way down. All that stuff is down. Even though he has 7+ targets in all but one game. His target rate is trending right towards where he was last year. Like, he's going to wind up with plenty of targets, but he's just going to have a worse year. He only has 2 touchdowns, had a TD called back by penalty last week. I think he's like a buy low in any kind of, like, if you're in a league where you can make trades, any kind of sense like that. Like, it's going to get better for Waller. There's not a lot there that, I mean, when I watch him, he looks the same too. I mean, do you guys have an explanation for Waller? I keep getting asked about it.
Well, remember last year, the Jets game? And Leone's talked about this, how like
where he blew up.
They were projecting him. Yeah. And Leone was saying like they were projecting Waller like week after week after week. They were over projecting Waller, kept coming in lower than the projection. And the temptation was to lower the projection. But like he was looking at all the target stuff and it's like he should be scoring more points. And then finally in that Jets game, he just like absolutely smashed their projection. And then to that point, like post Jets game, they had under projected him for the season. So it is like one of these things. Like I think we just kind of saw it with Diggs a little bit. Like Diggs just had like when the regression comes, and that's the thing. Like with all this like regression stuff, it's like when you're looking at the numbers, you're like, oh, this guy's like a little low. Like he should, his yards per target's probably like 2.5 too low. So like in a couple weeks he'll have one that kind of evens him out, and then in a couple weeks instead he has like a 20 yards per target game and he just goes bananas and absolutely crushes things and swings things the other way, or he has a super hot stretch like Devonta Smith's had over the last couple weeks. And now people are like, oh my God, can this keep up? And it's like, no, this can't keep up either.
Yeah. And Waller, to your point, after the Jets game, 3 of his other 400-yard games came in. There's only 4 games after the Jets game. So he closed the season with 400-yard games in his final 5. He only had 1 to that point in the season. I mean, we might get a similar run towards the end of the year. Basically,
we totally could. Yeah. We totally could. And then the season-long stuff, that'll bury it. We'll slowly forget that this is the way it played out. We'll talk about his points per game. We'll project him for more points per game than someone else. Then we'll be like, how you're an idiot if you don't. How could you take Pitts over Dillon Waller? Dillon Waller's target share was so much higher, and we'll just forget that any of this nuance occurred.
Yeah.
Let's just because we do have 25 minutes here until waivers lock. I do really enjoy the macro discussion. That's actually my preferred discussions to have. But let's get into a little bit of week specific stuff. I think this is a interesting week as far as playoff push. We have lots of ramifications coming up. Also with players being dropped, not being eligible to be picked up by any teams. I think that makes another kind of added wrinkle. And I saw someone in the chat ask this. We were talking about this in our private NFC team chat. The ship chasing chat was talking about it. Everyone's starting to wonder what we do with fucking Trey Lance, who has been the second QB, the third QB on a lot of our benches. The 49ers schedule is still really good. This offense is still really good. Like the thesis is still there. Are we losing faith in the Trey Lance thing happening this year? Where are you guys at on him still being a stash versus moving on?
I got asked this in my I have the Discord and office hours there, and I wrote a lot of words on it today. But right, I mean,
tell us.
I look, like Jimmy G having the best game of the year for him in a huge win against a divisional team on prime time. makes it tougher to see, especially for that came at the worst time for this Lance needs to play charge that we've been pushing. At the same time, he threw 19 passes, right? They just ran the ball the entire game. He didn't help them win. We know that he's limited. We know that he's a system QB. I still very much think that they'd be better off with Lance because he's dynamic and he can play, he can do things that, especially if they get down in games, can help them win. But also Shanahan basically doesn't have any incentive to play him at this point. If he plays him now and he succeeds, then he looks dumb. If he plays him now and he fails, he loses that hey, wait, give us, don't turn up any hot seat on us or anything. You got to give us 2022 when we can actually play Trey Lance, right? He doesn't want to play Lance and have that pick look bad after this year's already gone bad and people are starting to question whether Kyle Shanahan's a good coach, which is what has been happening a little bit. So there's really no good outcome for him to put Lance in at this point. At the same time, so that might, to me, I was trying to estimate it. I would say maybe it's 65-35, 75-25, maybe even, that we're going to wind up just having burnt a roster spot. That's sort of what it feels like. I do think we're dogs now to see him play at a time that matters. At the same time, I still very much think if he does play, he's an immediate top 10 quarterback. He's got the rushing ability and all those things. And so I still think he's worth holding. Or if you're going to cut him, you need to cut him right before waivers lock because you don't want to wind up facing him in the playoffs of your league.
Yeah.
The 49ers have good.
I was just going to say, no, I want to set you up, but because I completely agree with what Ben said. And so now we're weighing what is the opportunity cost of that roster spot, because you're probably using it on a running back who has a equally binary outcome of helping you succeed in an equally, binary probability of that hitting. So how do you view him versus a bench RB stash? Because that's ultimately what we're deciding.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Lance is the upside component. Cobra Kai saying cut for Cam Newton, which fair enough. You're kind of getting a similar profile to Cam Newton. There's some upside there. I think that'd be fine. But I think the upside with Lance is higher. I mean, they were using him in every dream we had for how they might use this guy as kind of a pure rusher, a true dual threat. I mean, looks like that's their plan for him. We just need a little bit more polish and a little bit more trust from them. They've got 5 losses, right? So the Rams game really was bad for us because if they had lost that game, now they're 3-6. To Ben's point about kind of thinking through the real world scenarios on this, if we just get them, a couple more losses here, then at that point, why are you playing Jimmy? At that point, show us Lance, I think is the call from the fan base, and you're
fix
sort of
your
hiding
site,
this.
show us Lance.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't know. I mean, that might not happen now until deep into the playoffs that they actually feel like they need deep into the fantasy playoffs. I mean,
so there's 2 things about that, and I agree, but there's 2 things about that. One, we did already see him start once, and he didn't look ready from a passing standpoint, which kind of, I think, provides Shanahan some cover. And then 2, Shanahan doesn't give a shit about draft capital. We just saw him bury Sermon. We saw him bury IU.
I don't buy this. I don't buy this take.
Okay. Why not?
I mean, okay. So part of it comes from the idea that he drafted Joe Williams in the 3rd or 4th round and immediately he's whatever. And then he drafts Trey Sermon in the 3rd round and immediately plays Elijah Mitchell over him. Drafting a running back in the 3rd round and then drafting a running back in the 6th round, and then you end up a couple months later preferring the guy in the 6th round, that doesn't mean that you don't care about draft capital. It means that you're sharp and you understand how running back works and this guy's outplaying this guy. Whatever. Who cares? It's different than saying that the number 3 overall pick, not feeling it in November, the year that you selected him. And by the way, you selected him after trading up. You bet the whole franchise on this guy. You and your GM just got together and were let's bet our jobs on this guy. And then in November, you're I don't know, we'll always get another 1st round pick. And the Ayuk stuff, I think to some extent that's motivational. He's out on the field now as well. And also Deebo Samuel's a star. So the fact that he's not out producing Deebo Samuel, we didn't know Deebo was this good. So I think he's a bit of an asshole. He's definitely willing to mess around with early draft picks the way other coaches aren't. But
you got to say he doesn't care about perception. I mean, that's the way I would frame it. He doesn't he did not care about perception when it came to Ayuk. Ayuk was good last year, and he was fuck it, I'm going to treat him like a rookie.
Right. I agree with that too, because we talk a lot about teams trying to save face on early round draft picks. Like with the Ayuk stuff, making him a healthy scratch, like first round pick, he doesn't give a fuck. He's like, if he's in his doghouse, he's in his fucking doghouse. Like he does not give a shit once they're on the team.
Yeah, although like, the Buccaneers draft Keyshawn Vaughn.
Oh God.
They immediately end up burying him. And I don't think I think Keyshawn Vaughn was a bust, and they realized it quickly and they moved on. Like, I don't think that I think the sermon component of this has nothing to do with
wait. The logical endpoint of that is that Ronald Jones is a bust. That's the logical endpoint of what you just said.
Well, wait, why is that the logical endpoint? He got buried. He got buried this year, sure. But I don't actually think Ronald Jones is a very similar case to Sermon, because maybe
he already was good for a while. Yeah.
Right. He got his chance. Then they decided to move on. They bring in Fournette. But the point they bring in Fournette partly because they're like, maybe this Jones guy doesn't have it. And also we're pretty sure the Vaughn guy doesn't have it. So let's bring in someone that we feel better about it. At least we feel like can compete. That's like a good team building move, I think. Right. Like, I don't think the Sermon part of this has anything to do with the Lance part. The fact that, especially in the Shanahan system, he's taken multiple stabs on he's not a day 3 guy, but he wasn't like an early second round. This isn't Javonte Williams who got buried. This is Trey Sermon in the 3rd round.
It should be clear, I don't think Ron Jones is a bust. He's still better than Leonard Fournette. Let's just be honest. Like, I'm not even going to debate that.
Let's
maybe he'll get one more chance. Maybe it's playoff Ronnie. Maybe we'll get
the next
Ronnie.
Team. We're gonna be drafting him next year on some new team.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about some week 11 specific waiver wire decisions. We might have a special guest joining us in a little bit, but we have 17 minutes to lock. I am frothing at my mouth to reveal our bids here.
Frothing at your mouth.
This was a pretty bad week on the waiver wire. Like, there was no, absolute smash picks. I did see Deonta Foreman floating around in some of our leagues. Is there anything else that's interesting to you guys this week as far as waivers?
There's a couple like stash guys. Patrick Taylor is a stash guy. John Bates is a stash guy if you need a tight end this week, because he might be the starting tight end for Washington this Sunday. Yeah. So there's some cheap stuff like that.
Gallman is the best take a peek we've had on a Thursday night, I think, all year. We're probably going to actually get to see him play a little, and then you can cut him if not, or if Patterson plays.
Talk to us about Gallman. Everyone knows Patterson's questionable, but like, what's the selling point on Gallman?
Well, yeah, earlier in the year I was talking about him because you kind of wanted to look at those depth backs in offenses that are generating a lot of high value touches, like from a team perspective. They've been generating fewer lately, in part because Matt Ryan early in the year looked like he had like this Roethlisberger-ian, I think is the word that I made up for signals, dead arm. He wasn't getting the ball down the field. He started to throw more vertical since like the first couple of weeks, Matt Ryan. So there's been some fewer running back touches or high value touches. The ones that have been there, a lot have been Patterson generated. He's lining up at receiver. Like, he's not even playing running back. So I'm a little bit less optimistic in that sense. But at the same time, like, if Patterson misses time, if he's out, Gallman's going to probably get some snaps. Mike Davis has not looked good. This is not a team that has playmakers. If he makes some plays early in the game, especially, there's no reason they wouldn't just ride him the same way they rode Patterson from week 1, because they need someone to be, a producer in this offense, basically. And so if he's able to be more effective than Mike Davis pretty quickly, I think he could actually wind up this week having more touches than Mike Davis pretty darn quickly. It's just a matter of Patterson plays, because it sounds like he might actually play. It's a game time decision.
Pat,
limited.
I feel like
both days of practice this week.
I was going to say, with the Thursday night stuff, I know another decision we have in a decent amount of our leagues is how to handle Rhamondre, who we should take a little victory lap here. Looked absolutely awesome this past week. Now we have Damian Harris back. He is going to suit up and play tomorrow night. A lot of people have tough decisions with Rhamondre as their RB2 of whether to play him in this spot, whether to let him ride. What's your lean right now if you do have kind of fringe options in his range?
Yeah, it's tough because like The one thing Rhamondre isn't showing well in is breakaway rushing. Like he's ahead of Harris in NFL Next Gen success rate. He's way ahead in yards per route run. He's running back 3 in yards per route run. He's been awesome in elusive rating, but he's not like a home run hitter type. I mean, he had a 4.63 40. So he's a big back. Like that's not going to be who he is. But Harris has had nice breakaway runs this year. So it's like if that's what the Patriots are looking for, if that's what they prefer in kind of the early down rusher, then we could pretty easily see Harris take back over as the early down guy. And then they probably still work in Rhamondre in, a receiving rotational rusher role. But is Bolden involved there, right? So there's like definitely a clear path to failure with him. I'm breaking ties towards playing him because you have the versatility, which has been the whole reason I was so attracted to him as a prospect. You've got the elusive rating plus the yards per route run plus size. Like there's multiple ways that this guy can get involved. Multiple ways the coaches can start to get excited about using him.
You basically said he's very similar to Najee Harris as a player, and he kind of looked it.
Yeah. It's discount Najee. So I don't know that I don't know how that's going to work out, but I think because you have a couple outs, like he can be in kind of a big James White role. He can split the early down stuff with Harris and get a few more targets on early downs, even if Brandon Bolden's involved. Like you've got multiple paths. So
you also have the path of we've seen, what was it? Was it the game against the Jets where all 3 running backs got there? Like they're playing the fucking Falcons on a short week. Like you could see multiple Pats running backs.
And they've been very run heavy over the last 3 games, heavily in the negative in terms of pass rate over expectation, playing good football, 4-game winning streak. The first game of that winning streak, they were more pass heavy, but the last 3 very much establishing the run. I think there's going to be enough carries for, even if Harris comes back and is the lead, for Harris to get like 15 plus and Rhamondre to get 10. And then, like Pat, you've been saying he's like the Rex Burkhead role. Like this is the type of game where the Rex Burkhead role can get you 10 rushes and 2-3 catches. And then if Bolden misses anything, I think he slides into more routes, like you said. If Harris misses anything, the big thing we saw this week was Rhamondre did eat up the green zone work, did get the high value touches from the rushing high value touches, and had those 2 short yardage touchdowns. He got all 4 of their green zone touches. So if Harris is, for whatever reason, he's going to be good to go. But if he were to miss time again in the future, there's 2 paths now for Stevenson to gain value, like you said. I mean, there's just multiple ways, both ways.
And I'll toss out another way. Is just like we're talking about Shanahan being, kind of whimsical with his stuff. I mean, Bill Belichick, like he has no allegiances to no one. Like if he thinks that Rhamondre is his best back and he sees a dusty, carry from Damian Harris and pulls the plug, like that shit can happen. Like if Rhamondre had 20 carries and, Damian Harris had 5 on Thursday, none of us would be shocked. Like that's also in the range of outcomes.
Yeah.
And that is in the range of outcome.
Go ahead, Pat.
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah. you get oh, what the fuck was I going to say?
We're doing a Rhamondre circle jerk right now.
I had a relevant thing to add, and now one of those just complete blank jobs. Oh, earlier in the year, he was a rookie, and so he kind of got benched. He had a fumble, right? I think, and Harris had a fumble in the same game, but Harris didn't really get benched, but Rhamondre was inactive the next week. Is that right?
Rhamondre had a fumble, but then J.J. Taylor had a fumble, I think. But then Rhamondre played and didn't have a fumble, and then he was inactive.
Pat, his mouth isn't moving when he's talking. It's so confusing. Are you seeing this too, Pete?
Yeah, he's on delay with his audio and video here.
It's just like
so I catch up in big spurts. You can see like the history of me.
But yeah, I mean, now Rhamondre has established more. He worked his way back. Obviously, Belichick saw. Like, to our point about Sermon and stuff, Belichick is sort of that way. He will bury a dude if he doesn't think he's doing the stuff in practice. Rhamondre clearly got more chances. They made him inactive, played him again, made him inactive again, played him again, worked his way into a bigger role. Damian Harris is out, turned the whole offense over to him last week, right? They only threw 23 times with Mac Jones. I think Hoyer threw like 3 more after that. 20 carries from Rhamondre Stevenson, rookie. You don't see that a lot with Belichick, turning it over to a rookie like that. Clearly, he likes Stevenson. The other, and so yeah, I mean, I think we're at a sort of across the Rubicon was the point that we are now at a point where he's been efficient. He's got the opportunity. He's very clearly a part of the offense now. Even if he has a fumble or something, I don't think he gets doghoused right away. Hopefully.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, but knock on wood. Also, he had that long TD run in the preseason. You made that comment about him not necessarily being explosive. To me, he looks a little bit like one of those guys when I watch him, like a Dalvin Cook or somebody who didn't run a great 40, but clearly has on-field explosiveness, right?
I know. I'm excited about that too. I just want to try to be objective. He's not popping in the breakaway percent. The moment he has enough long runs to pop in breakaway percentage, you better believe I'm going to be talking about the complete back Rhamondre Stevenson.
Do we think what are the odds? Okay, you guys can explain after, but I want a number. What percentage do you assign to the probability that Mac Jones goes down as the best quarterback in this draft class?
The best real life quarterback in this draft class?
Is it because he's the best, or is it because perception is he's the best? Important.
Well, so by EPA per play and completion percentage over expected.
Remember when I asked for just a number and then said you could explain?
I just want to know the question.
I'm sorry for being interested in this topic and talking about it.
Go ahead.
Mac Jones had the best week in EPA per play, which is an efficiency metric that's actually predictive, of any quarterback all season last week. And he had the highest CPOE of any quarterback all season. He was off the charts efficient last week. Now, I mean, it's like kind of amazing, ideal conditions. They're clearly limiting him. They're not asking him to do a ton. So, they're setting him up to be very efficient, but you set up a lot of quarterbacks to be very efficient and they're not. So I think he's like really flashing as kind of an ideal version of what you were hoping he might be, which is like basically Matt Ryan. Like he might be Matt Ryan. I think Trevor Lawrence looks like really bad.
It's so bad, man.
It looks like
really
full-blown like bust territory for Lawrence, to be honest. Like that's where we're at. Like I'm not saying he is a bust, but like it's like time to start asking the question if like this guy might be a bust. Like that's how bad his rookie season has been. Zach Wilson, I think we can already start to think he probably is a bust. Trey Lance didn't show much as a passer. For fantasy purposes, like he can be Jalen Hurts. And
I was just gonna say is that the ceiling for Lance? Like we're hoping for Hurts.
Yeah, we're hoping for Hurts in a Shanahan system. Like that sounds amazing to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm still extremely excited about Lance. Like people, I was saying like he's clearly the number one quarterback in Dynasty from this class, and people did not like that take. But to me, like who cares if he's not going to be this incredibly polished passer? Eventually, they're going to have to start him. They're just going to have to. They drafted him 3rd overall, and they traded up for him. It's happening, guys.
The other guy that Lance, and this is probably just because he played in San Fran, but like he really does remind me of Colin Kaepernick a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Colin Kaepernick went to a Super Bowl. Like he was a good quarterback, even though people always said he wasn't that good of a passer and all this. But he's got a big arm like Kaepernick. He's mobile. He's, I don't know, competitive. Kaepernick was always very competitive when he played. Anyway,
this is a great comment by Hassan. I love the comp. I just want to pull up this comment by Hassan, Pete.
This one?
No. Okay. The Trevor Lawrence one.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
It's just like Andrew Luck retired. But you didn't even say Justin Fields. I wanted to hear where you're going to go with Justin Fields.
Well, yeah, no. Well, I just said the Kaepernick thing I love because people also forget because they remember him kind of at the end of his career when he wasn't really like he had lost a bunch of muscle. He's like skinny Kaepernick. Like he used to actually be like a really awesome rushing quarterback plus the passing. So you're getting, I think, some fantasy ceiling there, even with the Kaepernick comp, which people might not love. Justin Fields to me is like, you like to gamble. If you like to gamble, get yourself some Justin Fields because what's going to happen this offseason, most likely they're going to fire Nagy. If they hire Dayball, right? If they hire Davis mentioned Greg Roman, which would be pretty interesting. I don't think they would, but maybe they hire a defensive guy and they bring in Roman as the offensive coordinator. If they hire like someone like Dayball, though, he's immediately we're going to be so excited. He's going to be the number one quarterback in the class. I think he has looked better as a passer than Lance. And if we're going to get rushing with like some intelligent passing design around that, like, oh my God. But if they hire some like defensive coordinator, like get the locker room in shape, like an old Tom Coughlin, Matt Patricia type dude, like we're done. Like we're not going to have any hope for Fields for the next like 3-4 seasons. And so I think your outcomes are tilted to the upside, and you could hit the lottery with the coaching hire, but I'd honestly rather have Lance than Fields right now. But Fields I would much rather have than Lawrence.
I was going to say, I feel like Fields has the widest range of outcomes of these guys right now.
I think probably Lawrence does.
Really? I feel like
if Pat's in here talking about him already being a bust, and I think he still has plenty of upside. We've seen like Peyton Manning was a bust his rookie year. Like I know it's a really long time ago, but rookie quarterbacks can be bad and then be good after that. I don't think he's a bust yet at all.
I don't think he's a bust yet either, but don't you think Justin Fields' 99th percentile outcome is far more exciting than Lawrence's?
Yes.
At the upside?
The 99th, like
for fantasy, yeah, but like for NFL, Lawrence like profiles is, probably for Fields, yeah.
It just sucks. They both have awful coaches, awful systems. It fucking blows.
It sucks.
But Urban's not getting fired in this offseason. They're giving him one more year.
We need to get him canceled, not fired. That's our.
What happened there? Where were you on that one, Pete? You're the influencer.
People want me to release the bids. Should I tell everyone a Deontay Foreman bid?
I added a $1 Patrick Taylor bid in Piss Boys behind Wayne Gallman.
I was gonna say I messed up. I didn't have many Patrick Taylor bids in my first sweep through.
Oh, one guy you were asking about random names. I'll throw out a random name. Justin Jackson is a guy that I think is a fun one to.
Oh yeah, tell us about Justin Jackson. I saw you mention that. In the
659. You got to give a bid. We'll just tell him after 7. Anyone who can type his name in fast enough.
We have a $121 Deontay Foreman bid somewhere.
Whoa,
that's a one we need. What's going on? There's a bunch of teams that like are dead, and we're just putting in bids. Like that's like a live team where we actually need Foreman, dude. What the fuck? We have so many to choose from.
Every time Pat is like, "What the fuck?"
The people
like there would be a way to do this bit to like honor the bit that you've created, but like not fuck us. And then every time we fuck.
If you want Deontay Foreman, go on.
Oh God! And you do it right as it hits 959. It's still not 10.
What are the odds that the 11 other owners in this specific league are upping their bid to 122 right now?
It's already happened like several times. Chris at one point was like, "Well, if only we had Stevenson." And you're like, "What? We don't have Stevenson on this team." And he's like, "Yeah, because this is the one where you gave away our Stevenson bid."
Crack Rock, is it bad if I give people our exact bids, or is that giving back to the community?
It's 10 p.m. You can give exact bids.
It wasn't when he gave the bids.
Prior to 10 p.m. is the point.
Yeah, you know what? I think there's so many teams that are out of it that even, most – who was in our league? Frank, who watches it or something like – was his name Frank?
More Cowbell, yeah.
Yeah, more Cowbell. So he's out of it. So if he's watching, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
And I know Cocktails and Dreams isn't watching, so –
You don't think Chad Schroeder's a big ship chasing fan?
I don't know. He's just a fan of himself, but he's the one coming up our tail. We're looking pretty good. I didn't even look because they didn't add FFPC is slow, so we shot up to Cocktails and Dreams is 6-4. Oh, we got 100-point lead on him, so we're good.
Yeah. Do you want to tell him to suck it?
No, I Cocktails is I don't mind. He's fine. He was just he was defending Hubbard one time, and I just went off on him. He blocked me, of course.
Craig, right? I mean, we didn't have any foreplay here. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
He came in just firing, just like spraying bullets everywhere.
No, I'm doing great. I got a wedding for my nephew this weekend in Philly, so I'm going to get some cheesesteaks. I'm pumped about that. I don't know if Pat's is your choice, but I'm definitely going to be hitting Pat's, and be doing a couple. The Walrus. I just hit up a couple Walrus hits, so that was nice.
Sounds nice.
And the dispensary is doing great. We just opened the little cafe in there now, so you can come in and have your cup of coffee, and later that night it turns into a little drinking establishment, and
Nice.
heading up to the Berkshires soon to check it out.
Wait, Crack Rock, let me know when this is. I mean, I'll fucking meet you at this. I mean, you tell me I can go get a espresso and then smoke a joint, and then I can go have a what kind of drinks do you have at night at this place?
No, we got a liquor license, so we got
You
a full
did?
liquor license. Yeah. So it's just you just spend the whole day there, and then my next thing is to do a like an Airbnb for for cannabis enthusiasts, where we're going to open up a
anyone getting an Airbnb is a cannabis enthusiast, Crack Rock.
Yeah, that's
No, but this is going to be especially like you could
Venn
go
diagram's a circle.
you could go to the Berkshires for the weekend and be like, I want this bong, I want this weed, I want this, and it'll all be there for you when you arrive, and then whatever you want can be brought to you right from the shop.
I love it.
Yeah. So, and then everything's going to be new, and it's like a cannabis hotel, so to speak. No, I'm telling you, this is people want this. They want to, they want to go on vacation and have a little, in Colorado, they have these all around, but we're going to do it on the Berkshires because the Berkshires is so sweet. You go to Tanglewood. There's so many great restaurants in Lenox, really top notch. They got some really good restaurants. I mean, some of the chefs in New York all go up there to Lenox and open up restaurants. So it's going to be like a travel destination. And of course, we're going to, if you need the whatever, binger that you need, if you need the double barrel, or you need, whatever you want, it's going to be brand new. It's there, and then you can just leave, and then we just give it to, the manager to keep.
Yeah, well, keep me posted. I need my official invitation to I went to the Berkshires a couple summers ago. I enjoyed it, but I didn't get hella lifted when I was out there, and I need to.
Yeah, the Berkshires are great. It's like undiscovered country up there. It's God's country. It's beautiful up there, and especially even in the wintertime, it's great because of they have some killer restaurants, and then you add the cannabis in there, and the restaurants just become even better.
Crack, let's get this back on track.
Yeah,
what's going on with your fantasy season? What's going on with these Twitter spaces you're doing? What's going on?
Yeah, I had Pat's good buddy Daigle on, and we did a spaces, and we actually gave some really great. We gave Conklin, we were pumping, who had 2 touchdowns. We had some good pickups there. One guy had a trade where he could was able to get Mahomes for Burrow and like Dawson Knox, and we made him go on that. So Daigle's just what a good guy, man. We had
awesome.
fun. He's got a little radio experience, so he was doing like the Crack Rock Daigle hour and using the time. He's like, it's 9:30 and it's time.
Daigle can drink you under a table too. I feel like you guys should get together for a power hour.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to, but where is he? Because he was an hour away. So hour time difference. So
he's a transient nomad. It's hard to know where
he's at Silva's house. He's been at Silva's house for a while now.
He hunkers down during the season. Once the off season, he hits the road. He throws his little knapsack over his shoulder and he starts heading out.
Yeah, he puts the corn cob pipe in his mouth and just acts around. But no, I have Right now, I'm in 75% of my teams are in playoff contention. 30% are in championship contention. So I'm having a good year. I'm having a really good year. This team is just
Cooper Cup away from being incredible.
Oh,
it is brutal.
Yeah, it is.
Can you imagine how good this team would be with Cooper Cup?
It wouldn't be fair.
It's really scary how good this team. It's just unbelievable how that one. And this just shows you how fragile the draft can be. How just one pick, and you guys were mentioning this earlier. How this year has been like you just had to pick the right guy, and nothing is a more perfect example of that than us or me.
Yeah, there was no us in that Robert Woods.
Yeah.
No, that was Pete. Like, no, don't do it.
Crack. I got to give you credit for willing to come on here and get these jokes every week. Like, if I was the guy that touted Robert Woods over Cooper Cup and it was on record, you guys would never have heard from me for about a year.
Hey, look, it's as I said, I cannot tell a lie. I cut down the Bobby trees. I cut down Bobby trees. I'm George Washington. I always tell the truth. That's one thing I believe in. There's nothing to hide. And if you don't own up to your mistakes, then you're just not a man. And I can man up and say, oh, I did want to take Fournette. And
all right.
You got to have it both ways here.
Okay. Yeah, Thank you, Henry. I did. I also did want Gronk, but he did get hurt. But, look, there's no ifs, ands, or, hindsight's 2020. The bottom line is this team has 3 players that are 500K players. So when you have Allen, Diggs, and Tyreek Hill, they themselves can carry you during our playoffs. So we just got to sneak in, man, and get into that championship round because there's something wrong with Mike Williams. I mean, him dropping that ball on I guess he was on the 2-yard line. It was right in his hands. So
I was just going to ask you about that because Mike Williams is this guy that it's been like a tale of 2 seasons, through 4 or 5 weeks. We're like, holy shit, this guy's a league winner. Like, where are you guys at on him right now? Like, is it somewhere in the middle of what we've seen? Can he get back to those heights? Like, what's gone on with him?
Yeah, he had that drop that could have been a TD. He also went out of bounds, I think, at the one. No, I'm thinking of Michael Gallup going out at the one, but I know he maybe Williams got tackled at the one. He made it to the one before Larry Roundtree's 1-yard touchdown this week. Had a 3rd red zone target. Still getting that red zone work. I think the biggest thing is just I've talked about this in Stealing Signals a little bit. The quarterbacks who are not throwing downfield as much, the 2 deep shells. It's not just Kansas City. It's not just Buffalo. It's permeating a lot of different teams. Herbert has not been as vertical lately, and I've seen some conversation that it's an issue with the offense. They're not having him push it down the field or whatever, but they haven't had as many opportunities. He had a chance deep to Williams a couple of weeks ago, the one where he rolled right and kind of threw it back left. And it was awesome. But we're just not getting as much vertical passing, like literally around the league. And Herbert's not been immune to it. So a lot of targets have shifted to Keenan Allen. That's the way I'm rating it.
Yeah,
but hasn't his ADOT increased as well, which is one of the things that we were excited when his ADOT fell because he had been this traditionally deep threat only guy, and his ADOT's I believe back up. I'm trying to pull it up, which is why my video keeps freezing.
Did waivers run?
They did. Did we just lose? Fucking Crack Rock dropped off.
We did, and Pat's.
I'm still here.
Okay. To I don't have the receiving ADOT right now, but Herbert's pass ADOT has been under 6 both the last 2 weeks. It was not under 6 for the first 7 games of the year. So it's 2 lowest ADOTs these last couple of weeks.
Well, Gretch, what's your take? Because there was this narrative early on that he was in, like the Michael Thomas role in this offense. He was getting used in all areas of the field. It looked like he had flipped Keenan Allen. Did that just get reversed? Did something happen? Was that small small sample size variance, like it does seem weird.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually had not looked at their weekly ADOTs. I don't look at ADOT a lot on the weekly level, so that's something I missed. And Pat pointing out, I just pulled it up. I mean, yeah, he was 9.8, 8.6, 9.2. The league average receivers right around 11, so he was like below league average, getting some like short yardage targets, and then he goes up to 17.8, 14.4, 15.6, 11.6, 12.8. Last week this says 1.7. That seems wrong, but the rest of those for a stretch were, all above average and clearly higher than those first 3 weeks. So that's something I had not noticed. Have you thought about
when
that,
you go
Pat?
up to like, well, I don't think it's good. I think when you have a guy that's like at 9, that's the Michael Thomas role, right? You might see like a Devontae Adams around that range. But when you're up at like, 14, 15, like that's Devonta Smith. You can be in between, Tyreek Hill this year. We're thinking like, oh, Tyreek Hill's seeing a lot more shallow targets. I believe he's right around 11.5. So when you see that giant shift of Mike Williams and it's going back to something that we were used to seeing him in before, I don't know. I mean, and it's not just for like 1 or 2 weeks. It's been a huge long stretch here now. It's definitely concerning.
Yeah, he got hurt. He's playing through an injury. There's no doubt that Mike Williams was hurt that one time. He was killing it, and then he got hurt. But hopefully, as time goes by, he's gonna come on, because as far as quarterbacks go, I mean, he has one of the best going there. So that's what keeps me going, is because Herbert is just so good. And just defenses are kind of catching up to him, but he should be fine. If we could just get Javonte to get more carries, I mean, that's just the key.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that fumble is going to help us get some more like a 70-30 split versus the 50-50 Gordon split? I mean, he's so much better than Gordon. That touchdown that got called back just made me I was tilting on that. But, is he someone you could see, doing more of a 70-30 split as the season goes on?
I mean, maybe. We know there's the sort of the post-buy rookie bump, but the Williams played a season-high snap share in this game this past week. One thing I wrote about in Signals was that a lot of it was just late in pass-heavy situations. He ran a lot more routes than he typically has as well, but he didn't get a lot more touches because they weren't like, dumping it off to him. They both wound up with 10 touches, Williams and Gordon. So I wrote that like that particular game to me wasn't really, evidence of a turning of the tide. He was just sort of playing in a blowout. But, the young guy and the veteran was taken out of the game. But after the bye, though, they could actually make a shift,
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm just hoping for they're not, they're not like fighting for a spot, and that kind of makes me want to think that they're going to give him more carries. The other thing is just we need the Allen Diggs combo to start heating. Obviously it hasn't been the killer that it was last year, but I feel like it's starting to pick up. Like when they got embarrassed by the Jags, that 9-6 game, I think they got a tongue lashing, and obviously they were playing the Jets, but I think they're on the way up. And I think Mahomes also, and that goes to Tyreek Hill, is on the way up, because he even missed Hill on like an 80-yard touchdown in that game. He should have had a third touchdown where he was wide open and Mahomes just missed him. So I think Mahomes is going to get even better. And if we can just get some sort of RB, that 10, 15 points a week, then our team could really, come playoff time, could really shine. So we got a real chance. And then the only other wild card we have is Ronald Jones. If, he's obviously just been, I've never seen anyone just get completely just phased out of the the game, so we would need an injury.
Well, since Robert Woods, we haven't seen anyone.
That and you know what? Robert Woods was just coming on too. That was a shame, but I still think Cup he defenses are going to key on him, and he was coming down, and they didn't look as good without him. And I don't know that Notre Dame rookie came in, tried to fill his shoes. Van Jefferson came in, tried to fill his shoes. They're not the same, and it seemed like the Rams really don't look as good as they did. I mean, I don't know any teams that really look good, except for me, it's the Bills. I think the Bills are coming on, and we have Zach Moss there. So if we get Zach Moss somehow more involved in the passing game, because when I saw Breida out there, I was like, oh,
yeah, it was tilting.
Oh,
so tilting.
What we didn't talk about that in the pre-waiver lock stuff, but what is your guys' read on, Breida? I know he wasn't playing a ton of snaps and stuff, and Zach Moss was limited in practice, but how are you guys interpreting kind of the Bills backfield after last week?
Garbage.
It's so thin.
Yeah, it's just they literally don't. I mean, just look at the difference between San Francisco, how they run the ball, and what the Bills do. I mean, the Bills basically their running game is non-existent. I mean, their running game is really Josh Allen. So when you have Singletary and now you add Breida in there, it just makes it even uglier. But the good thing about Zach Moss is it does seem like he does come in on the goal line situations. So that gives me a little bit of hope. But then again, well, the good thing for us is if on the goal line we have Zach Moss and we have Josh Allen, it's a guaranteed touchdown. So the more they score, it's basically just going to feed into our team.
I have breaking news. The team where I released the Deontay Foreman bid, we did secure the Deontay Foreman bag. So Pat,
all right,
giant exhale for
huge
you.
sigh of relief. Which you guys will see around.
Pete's been refreshing that for the last 20 minutes.
I will say, this is our team with Paul. It's a pretty damn fun team, and it's actually kind of similar to our Crack Rock team. Not as good at quarterback, but just absolutely loaded at wide receiver, and then tight end, and then we also have James
tight end. That's a sweet team. Jones. The other good thing about Foreman is I saw that McNichols had a concussion.
Oh,
I don't know if
I missed that.
Yeah, so that just hit. That was I just saw that come over. So if McNichols is out with that concussion, that gives him even more PPR. That could be huge. Because we know no one throws, they don't throw to AP unless it's just a weird thing. So he could really take over that entire backfield and get 70, 80% of the carries. So Foreman would be huge. And he was free for a while. I got some Foreman, but obviously he was mostly gone at this point. So with McNichols out, Foreman could be a stud for you there to plug in there. That team does look good. Obviously, you don't have Josh Allen, but the Mark Andrews kind of makes up for that versus our team where Fan actually started to come on. So I'm pumped about Fan getting those carries. And if Denver, we do have the Fant Javonte combo. So if Teddy can get his head on straight, because he looks so bad this weekend, I've never seen a quarterback just miss. Even in the end of the game, he had Tim Patrick wide open in the end zone, and he completely overthrew him. I guess we didn't get anyone. We had a
just wait till you see Drew Lock, Crack Rock. He misses guys even worse. It's amazing.
We got Cam in San Francisco defense, and looks like Kenny Gainwell for $1 on this team.
I did want to say on on Javonte Williams, like there's been no signs that they're going to move to him more. In fact, like if there's been any movement, it's actually been towards Gordon, but he has been so good that like it is hard for me to believe, especially coming out of the bye, that we won't see some kind of change. Maybe the fumbles. Like I've seen some reaction like why would they make a big move off of just one fumble? But it's like they just need some kind of excuse to play Williams more, who they drafted highly, and he leads the league in breakaway percentage, tied with Jonathan Taylor for number 1 overall in breakaway percentage, and he's behind Nick Chubb for second in elusive rating. And he broke PFF's record. He's the highest in the PFF database in career elusive rating. So the thing we thought he was going to be amazing at has translated immediately. Like this is a huge, huge bull signal for how good this guy is.
Sean said on Bananas the other day that he's the best running back in this class. He's better than Najee.
He is. He's a better running back. Now, I mean, fantasy wise, like, but Najee has left more points on the field, fantasy points over expected per PFF than any running back in the league. He's the lowest in negative fantasy points over expected per game. That's not to say he's bad. He's not, but he's not showing exceptional special qualities other than an ability to handle a huge workload, and he's got good burst, and he's, he gets what's blocked. He's pretty solid. But Javonte Williams might be like a superstar. Like that's what he's flashing.
Oh, from the eye test, when you see Javonte run, I mean, I'm a boomer. He reminds me of Earl Campbell. He's just so powerful, and obviously no one knows who Earl Campbell is, but
Never heard of him.
Yeah. But he has that explosiveness.
Was Earl Campbell like a leather helmet guy?
Yeah, he's a leather helmet guy. He goes back with that George. That was that George Clooney film, the Leathernecks. But he can turn the corner and go up the middle. So I mean, how many running backs have that capability? And his buddy at North Carolina, Michael Carter, is outscoring him. That just blows me away. That Michael Carter is now coming on, and it's all because of the amazing PPR ability he gets, and he's getting the goal line carries. And when those goal line carries go to Gordon, it's brutal. It's brutal. It's brutal. But I think maybe we can, as the season goes on, and the Broncos just finally just say, look, we got to just give him 20 carries a game and just let Melvin go out to pasture. And if somehow we can get Zach Moss getting 5 catches a game, we have basically 3 Bills on our squad. And if the Bills just start scoring 30, 40 a pop down the stretch, that's how we win. And then we have 2, and then we need Fant really to come on. We do need Fant in a big way. I don't know if Alberto got hurt. I don't know what happened there to see him on the field, but I don't know why Fant isn't getting. Well, it's Teddy Bridgewater, of course, but
Fant's going to be fine.
Yeah, Fant's going to be fine, and that really just when we get into the playoff mode and get Javonte, Moss, and have Allen in there with Lockett, Williams, Diggs, and Tyreek. I mean, that's all you can ask for, and that's legit with Fant in there. Because it's Diggs and Hill and Josh Allen that are going to make or break us, obviously. And if Lockett can, I don't know what Russell Wilson was doing. I mean,
that was bad.
That was bad, but he should get better. But the only problem is the Seahawks are so bad, and they're not in the playoffs. And then if Mike Williams gets healthy, so. We're there. We're not looking as good as we were last year because we had Eckler and Derrick Henry. So this was a different look, but we just got to make the playoffs, man.
Yeah.
I was going to say everything you guys were saying about Javonte, to circle back to Breida, Sean and I were talking a little bit. Like I felt like watching that game that he brought something that neither Moss or Singletary has really brought for several weeks, which is just like an explosiveness. And he only played 8 snaps, like Pete said, but he got 6 touches. He scores 2 touchdowns. He racks up 50 yards. It's not a huge role or anything, but I think similar to what we're saying about Javonte, when coaches see something like that, you're hoping that they realize to get the guy more.
He also
playing
had 3
time.
targets though, and
Yeah.
it's like he can't, like, you know, Ben, like I don't have you looked at like the high value touches for the teams? Have you dug into that this year?
Yeah, how that
Because
every edition of Stealing Signals.
Okay.
The team high value touch stuff, yeah.
So I mean, they've got to be like the lowest for the running backs in the league, right?
Yeah, let me pull it up. They are.
Yeah, just the fact
They're
that
actually closer to middle of the pack. They're not that low.
yeah,
But
the
yeah,
fact
they're below average, slightly below average.
We can't have Matt Breida coming in here and slicing off a big chunk of the high value touches.
Yeah,
exactly. That took the words out of my mouth. It just the fact that Breida just came out of nowhere and just showed up and got 2 touchdowns is just
not good. No,
it's not good. The only other thing is we can get lucky during the playoffs and maybe the other teams don't have any fab left and we can luck out in some, you know, Damian Williams, Kareem Hunt of the past and get something there. But again, it's having 3 of the top basically best players in the league on your team helps. You know, the Tyreek Hill, Diggs, and Allen is going to make us. And I really think the Bills are coming on, and you know they're just going to keep chucking it. And Diggs busted out. Cole Beasley's hurt.
Yeah,
he's got some rib injuries, and that just makes him or Allen look to Diggs even more, so we can get those targets up to above 10 every game, and that'll, you know, we'll be the Bills. And with Moss sneaking in there, if you know, Breida doesn't get too many of the carries, maybe they can phase out Singletary, who's been awful. But again, we have players on really good teams and high scoring teams, and that's the biggest key, because at this point it's so important to have people on good teams. I mean, DeAndre Swift is the perfect example. Put DeAndre Swift on the Chiefs and just think about what he would do.
You know who the Chiefs could have had? They could have had Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, they could have.
Can you imagine?
Oh my god!
Oh, wait? They took CEH over JT?
Yeah. It took him over everybody.
It took him a couple picks over Swift, because Swift was like the second pick of the second round, but like 10 picks ahead of Taylor. Went like 10th pick of the second round. I'm totally doing that off memory, but somewhere in that range.
Yeah, CEH has been the biggest disappointment. I mean, Darrell Williams looked unreal, and he showed off what you know, if you can catch the ball out of the backfield, how good he can be, and he just doesn't do that. It's just it's mind-boggling.
Well, that's the thing with CEH, right? Is he's a part of this Joe Brady system where they're throwing to the running back a ton, but his yards per route run actually wasn't very high in college. And then he comes in, and his yards per route run sucks this year. It's like 0.73 or something off the top of my head. It's bad. And if you look at Darrell Williams,
mossing dudes out there.
Yeah, he's like pretty solid. So, I mean, honestly, it's starting to look like CEH is kind of a Josh Jacobs type, where he was like a receiving guy in college, but now he's going to be kind of a 2-down guy in the pros.
But he's not even as good of a runner as Josh Jacobs.
That's true. He's not.
He's not as good a runner, and that's what amazes me. He's just not that good.
That's kind of what we're getting at.
You know, he just, you know, the eye test is all you really need. And when you think about it, I mean, when you see Javonte run, and I'm just going back there is no one in the league that you just feel like, damn, I don't want to tackle that. You know, besides Derrick Henry, he's just seems like that type of guy.
Yeah, see, he's the guy. Everyone says Swift is the guy they should have taken. He would fit their system better, all this stuff. Like, they don't actually throw to the running backs that much. Like, I think Swift would have been doing a lot better than CEH, but I don't think he would have like 1 million targets like he has in Detroit if he was in KC. I think Taylor's the guy that they clearly should have taken. He was the better.
Taylor's.
I mean, he was the top prospect to me. But also, you think about like KC, they face all these teams dropping into these deep zones. You give Taylor a light box, like the ability to switch up, being a vertical passing
game over.
Yeah, it would be Gurley. And when you have the thing is, it's not that you want someone who can actually like fit your system perfectly. I mean, it's kind of like AJ Dillon. I think some people are kind of concerned, like, oh, how's he going to fit in? Are they going to be like this ground and pound team? If you can do both, like you can basically have Derrick Henry and be an Aaron Rodgers passing offense and switch within different drives whenever you want. That's an incredible asset, right? Like the defense can't play anything. You're screwed.
I remember we were close to Dillon. I don't know if we have our draft board up, but I remember he was real close. I think we got sniped on him because he would have been someone that would have just.
I wish we had him on this.
Dillon's good, dude. Dillon looks so good. Like,
so good, man.
His feet along the sidelines, his balance, like, he's good. He's really good.
I have a friend who was a huge BC fan, and oh wow, this is bringing back some memories here.
So we could have taken we would have had to take AJ Dillon over Fuller.
We should have done that.
We only had 4 receivers. There was no way.
There was no way.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's going back the other way. Yeah.
I was thinking maybe around where we took Rojo, Dillon was there. But see, this is what happened. Dillon,
he got pushed up.
We're all looking for the guys who did this. How the hell did he get pushed up this time?
I know, right?
Well, he wanted the 8th. And then where was Fournette? Oh, you see, Fournette did go after Ronald Jones in our draft. He did go after.
Yeah, that 11-12 turn. We went tight end, but you must have been wanting Fournette there at 11-11, huh?
Oh, I remember because
like a Pete pick to me.
I said, let's take Fournette and Jones. And you're like, no. We can't have both those fuckers. And I was like, let's just lock up the backfield.
Sounds like a boomer thing to do.
It was a boomer.
What do you guys think of this question from Andrew? And I noticed Sean in our Chasing Stolen Bananas League had a bid on Fuller. What do you guys think about Fuller's prospects rest of the season?
I did some Twitter searching, and all I found were memes of really ridiculous looking hands that people are just so upset with Fuller not being back from a hand injury yet. I've not found any actual information on when we could expect him back.
It is the biggest mystery. I have no idea. I've never seen a guy just have a hand injury and just every week he just doesn't show up. And if anyone needs a wide receiver, it's the Dolphins.
I actually talked to Sean a little bit after recording Bananas yesterday about Fuller, and he's always been the huge Fuller guy. So I'll give you the direct Sean take, which was that it was kind of a funny little conspiracy theory take where he was just like something about like, Fuller's just sitting back there like, screw this. Like they brought out Jacoby Brissett. I'm going to lay low until they get Tua back in. And then I'm going to come back. I'm on a 1-year deal. Didn't really work out, got hurt, whatever. And smash in the last 4 games and then go hit the free agent market again. Like he is on a 1-year deal. Like I think Sean was, he was kind of kidding. He was kind of laughing as he said it, but would it be that surprising? I mean, Fuller's good. Like, would it be that surprising if he had a big final month because he knows he's a free agent here coming up?
Is he saying Fuller's got the buy low machine up and he's just looking at the Miami schedule, figuring out when to come back?
Exactly. When to come back and smash so that he can get big money because free agency didn't go as well last year.
Buying low on himself.
Yeah, well, they said he's not playing this week. So, I mean, it's just it's bizarre. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with the guy, and they need him in a big way.
He has 8 targets this year and 4 catches. I feel like he played more than that. So he has 8 targets all season. He's been on all my rosters.
Pete, I want to get your take on this.
And the worst is you're still holding on to Taysom Hill there. Interesting.
Yeah, so this is our team with Sean, and we did get Fuller in this, and this is another team that's a bit of a sleeping giant here. If we get Saquon coming back, we have the DeAndre Saquon, we have Kyler if he gets healthy. You got Diggs Chase combo. We have the nut kicker defense combo. Like this team can be a monster here.
DJ Moore, I almost put in over Rhamondre, and then I saw you guys' emails. We're thinking about playing Rhamondre over DJ Moore.
No, so the question to me, the conversation around Rhamondre has to do with Saquon, right? If we think Saquon's good, I think we definitely play DJ Moore over Rhamondre. If we're worried about Saquon not suiting up, then we get in really dicey territory, because if we don't play Rhamondre tomorrow and Saquon doesn't go, now we're playing, Devonta Freeman or Singletary.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a good point.
You got to put DJ Moore in. Come on.
I think
I mean, roll the dice, man.
I'll do it for you.
I mean, I don't understand that. Damian Harris is at a concussion protocol. He's playing.
Yeah, no. So the issue isn't again with Rhamondre. It's how do we feel about Saquon?
Right. Saquon's coming. He's playing. He's back.
There we go. I heard it from the horse's mouth.
All right.
Yeah, it looked like he was
King of New York.
a full practice.
Look at his skyline. You think this guy doesn't have a direct line into the New York Giants front office?
I do have a line into the Giants. Bruce Beck is the local NBC reporter here in New York. He's been around forever, and he's a good friend of mine. And he had Joe Judge on his NBC. Does like after the late night news, he does a sports recap in New York, and he had Joe Judge on, and Joe Judge basically said after the break, especially because Booker's hurt, that Saquon's back. That the ankle's good and that he's going to play. So that team is nice, dude. Especially Saquon is coming back. The swelling's down. He's been working on it. He's been at practice. So that team is really good. Because Waddle has been someone who's really been impressive, but just flying under the radar. So that team I like a lot. So you got to roll the dice and play Saquon. I'll reach out. When's that game? The game's tomorrow. I'm gonna reach out to Bruce and and just see if he has any insight. And then I have a friend in the GM office who I can contact on Saquon. But everything I'm reading here from the New York standpoint is that Saquon is back, and Joe Judge is. Even said it, and that was Sunday. So everything I'm reading is positive on that. And then with Damian Harrison back, I don't know how you could play Stevenson there and put DJ Moore on the bench.
Well, it's just that if we don't get Barkley, then what do we do?
Who were your other running backs there? Did you have anything that looked?
We have Freeman, who I think is fine. And...
So Freeman and DJ Moore versus Stevenson and Saquon. Is that the trade-off right there?
Well, Saquon and DJ Moore would be the ideal, I think. Right?
Yeah,
but, we want to play Rhamondre too. Like
it's good. Rhamondre and what? Well, because we could always play Rhamondre and Moore. So
you have Singletary there as well. Is Murray going to be back this week? Oh, you have Mac Jones. Okay.
But he plays.
Yeah.
Is there word on Murray? Is he?
Murray was at practice today.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, Murray.
I just moved my mouse to click on that.
I believe he got a full practice in too.
Oh, yeah. Pretty close. All right, that's still because they've been doing this game time decision thing, and
I think he'll be questionable and go. He's because he didn't come back to practice until Friday of last week, and then he was DNP Wednesday and Thursday. He practiced today. I didn't see if it was limited or full, but I think that's already a great sign.
Oh, you're 5-5.
We have the most points in the league.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's unbelievable how you can have the most points to be 5-5.
Yeah,
look at the entire league is fucking 5-5. It's just like
And meanwhile, there's a guy with less points. He's 10-0. Laces out. I mean, it's just that's why I like victory points. I mean, victory points. I do have one league with victory points, and victory points. I don't know if you ever played victory points in FFPC, but it basically. You get 2 points for a win, but if you're in the top 6 scoring, you get an extra point. so you can get 3 points, and that basically saves you from, if you do lose but you did have a high scoring team, you can still get a point, and that basically evens things out. In all the high stakes, the 5Ks and the 10Ks, they use victory points, and it's a great scoring. It is a great scoring. But that team is pretty sick. So you guys got some. Are all your mains getting into the playoffs?
No.
No.
No, we have like probably 5 teams that are locked and loaded for the playoffs, and then we have another 3 or so that are surging and could really do noise, and then we probably have 6 that are dead. I would say is probably.
I think that's about
And
right.
how many smaller of the 350s did you guys do?
We basically
one.
eradicated that. We're in 1 this year.
You just like, yeah.
Yeah, because
We're in a
it's
couple.
all the man. I'm so glad we did that too.
We're in a
Like, there's so
couple.
much
We're in the
man-
2. You're right.
Penta,
You're right.
yeah.
2.
Yeah, we're in 2. Yeah.
2.
Yeah, just from a time consuming. Yeah, you guys are too big time for those.
No, it's not that we're too big time. Like, we love fucking drafting. Like, we'll draft,
Yeah, we would totally do it.
every night of the week. It's just when you have to pay the piper on waivers, and thankfully we got Serum in the Discord taking the lead on our mailman FFPC draft. We have our quad managed bros over at Rotoviz taking the lead on that one. But it's a lot. It's a lot, even with our kind of co-manager program and doing a lot, like going through those. I mean, it takes like an hour and a half for me to like go through all the teams and check it against ranks. And that's just for like 15 teams. Like it is nuts. Yeah, it's a lot.
You're preaching to like, wow.
I know. You guys do way more than I do.
That's why I think if you made it and you did do 30 rounds, imagine drafted that you just do 30 rounds and then just every player that's available is basically drafted. The waivers don't have to exist anymore. The question is whether people would stick around for rounds 20 through 30.
But I also think there is something fun about finding these guys who are emerging, and you get, you can watch the games, get more information, and you're still competing against your opponents as the season is actually going on. Like, the idea of waivers in some form, I think is really good. Like, I like this more than best ball, even though it's at times I wish I just drafted best ball teams, but like ultimately I like this style more than a really deep best ball format. But at the same time, like it's such a grind at times.
No, it is, but it shows you, because look, Cocktails and Dreams is, he's on the top of every single board you'll see. And that's because he grinds waivers. I mean, it's his full-time job. He doesn't have a job. This is his job. And that's the only way you can actually do it, is to make it your job. And that's why I basically hired a guy to do it, because there's no physical way to do it. And
shout out to Timo. He's doing a great job.
He is doing a great job. And it just shows you, because it's like when we did the Dearness Johnson the week before, for $1, and then we got like 13 of them, and then we played them, and it just, the amount of money you save for that dollar, you basically made like $3,000 in fab. And it's true, because if I didn't have a team, that's why I'm right now cashing in roughly 75% of my leagues. And I have 100. So, obviously my draft is good, but again, it's 50% draft. It's 50% waivers. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise that it's not, because just look at our team. I mean, if we go to our draft, how many players are still left from our draft? Probably half. And that's the way it usually works. And, but just going back to your point again on the zero RB, it does make a lot of sense. And you guys are right, but you don't have to force it and do the, we got lucky with Hill Diggs, but there's times where if like in the year before, Henry fell to us because Donkey Boy took Julio Jones. So that's when you gotta pounce on that. And then Eckler came into the second round, and we had to pounce on that, even though we had some juicy, wide receivers there. And then we just did it right. We just went wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, and then we cranked the purple at the end. So. And cranking purple at the end, I mean, this year is a perfect example of why you do it and not reach for those, because Mark Andrews and Kels are really, Waller's been no good. So yeah, going those tight ends early hasn't paid off. Whereas if you went late on tight ends and did the cranking purple, it worked out. So
it's still, I mean, in this dynamic, I think will play out, like in the underdog playoffs as well, where, we're all frustrated with Waller, but like Waller could also still be the guy you need to take down one of these tournaments.
Oh yeah.
And that's absolutely. What's so weird about this stuff. Like he could kind of kill you like 8 weeks out of 12 during the regular season, and you sneak in and he fucking rips off 3 games of 25 plus points, and like he's the dude. Like that,
because that's what we're doing.
Happen.
We don't know who these guys are, but we're basically just trying to like sneak in these league winners that are actually the league winners because they're the guys who pop in the playoffs. And then it's like, oh my God, I had one of them. And then in retrospect, we're going to be like, well, obviously you just should have drafted Jamar Chase because he scored a shitload of points in the playoffs or whatever it is.
Tyler Higbee 2 years ago was that player.
Right.
Tyler Higbee literally carried me to easily a couple championships. And that was the year that I finished 3rd and 4th in 2 leagues, and it was all due to Higbee, and that was a 13th week pickup. So yeah, those opportunities are still there. So don't spend all your fab. Don't spend $9.95 on Elijah Mitchell because you're basically just killing yourself right there.
I don't know. Elijah Mitchell's been one of the best waiver wire pickups of the year.
$9.35 would have been fine. $9.95 you can't.
$9.95. Here's a good question. Crack Rock, because I've already started to get a little excited. We fucking love the FFPC playoff challenge around here. Do you play it?
I don't, but I'm going to this year. Let's do one.
For sure.
Yeah.
I didn't do it because it's hard. It's confusing. There's so much analytics when you only can draft one player from. So I need the big brains of you guys to help me on that, because
we'll bring our big old galaxy.
This is why we like it so much, because the boomers say that it's hard, it's confusing.
Last week, like we've now made it.
I love you, man.
We have a full programming week now that we did last year, and I can't wait to run it back. Like I've literally I've thought about it multiple times during the season. That week is so fucking.
I mean,
fun.
I want to win.
It's DFS for the whole playoffs, basically.
Yeah, That and that's why I'm trying to get more into DFS, because I actually played. I played a few because these last weeks there's like nothing going on, so. I'm starting to play a little DFS, and I want to get more into DFS because I really do. DFS is fun as shit.
DFS is so fun.
What are you playing, Crack Rock? Tell me, what contests are you playing? I'm curious.
Well, that's why I went on to Spaces with, I guess it was Ryan Hodge and Barrett were on there talking about it, and I was just trying to pick their brain because I still don't understand this swapping out of the 4 o'clock. I mean, it's just like, how the fuck can you change your line? I mean, what the fuck is going on? How can you cheat like that?
You're cheating, dude.
It's like, wait a second, I put in my lineup and now I can swap out and put someone
on Monday Night Football. If you have a running back and a wide receiver and you have a flex spot open, you can decide which one of them to put in from your lineup. It's the same thing.
I know. But it just makes my head hurt too much. So that's why I
tell me your lineup from this past week. What did you roll out?
I rolled out. Let me see. I went on FanDuel.
Is it written down?
It's not. I don't even. The ones, no, I went with I went too much. James Conner was in everywhere, and he just basically, that was not the right call. But I do like DFS because it was like you got to find that diamond in the rough that is going to bust out. That's nice and cheap. And I love looking for that. And it's so easy, as you said, with the chalk and taking those guys. But when I see some of the Millie winners, I'm like, damn, I could put that fucking lineup together. I know it's easier said than done, but it is friggin' exciting. I want to get more into it. And I will pay for at least 2 FFPC playoffs for all of us to do and give you full
I'm excited.
Yeah, and give you each 25% each as my treat.
I'm trying to get I was going to say when Pete brought it up, I'm hoping to get some big winnings from these other FFP contests, like purely just to roll back into the playoff.
That's their business model.
We got to get a lot of teams.
That's like the secret of why we do the main event is just to build our bankroll for the playoff challenge.
You don't get paid before that though. You don't get that money into your account before those playoffs.
We did last year. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah,
I thought we did because we were fired pretty hard.
We fired a lot at the playoff challenge.
Oh, wait, you're right.
Because you have that extra week.
Oh,
week
right.
18
right.
And yeah.
No, I take that back because it is the extra week. You're right.
Yeah.
But that playoff challenge is fun because I remember I was in a league with Austin Martin and he won the 500K. We got into a big feud again with fucking Hubbard. But that was 2 years ago. But it's the game theory behind it though is so intense, and I want to pick your brains for that more. So let's do a couple. Again,
Pat is basically. Have you seen that meme of Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny where he's got all?
I thought you were doing the numbers one. Yeah.
He's got all the lines and everything. He's like, if they beat them, then that means this matchup's gonna play. Last year. If the Rams upset the Seahawks, then Cam Akers was going to get the Packers rush D. So Pat was super on to Cam Akers, which is exactly what happened. It was huge for us.
So I'm good at predicting who's going to get there. I mean, the teams that are going to get there. I'm bad on picking the players on those particular teams. That's
it sounds like a match made in heaven because you got to pick the right teams to advance. That's the first thing. You got to get the teams that are actually going to make it. That's like probably 75% of it.
Well, that's why I want to combine again because we have that boomer. We mesh well because I kind of take you off your game. When we did our draft a couple times, but you like it because you're like I can't do the same thing every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, and it works out. We get that like boomer Malen, and it turns out to like this smooth cocktail.
Cross-generational.
So I think. Last year we did 3 shows during FFPC playoff week, and I looked it up. So we had our RotoViz brethren on, and we revealed the Boomer the first thing we did was a first look show with Davis, and we looked at snap takes. Then on Wednesday we did the Boomer Opto reveal with Hassad and Blair, which is what was going to be the most common lineups by the Boomer populace on FFPC. And then Friday we did the final kind of wrap with Dink and Leone. So I think we build in an extra night. I think we go 4 nights.
I mean, we might need to go 5.
Let's
Here's
the
thing. Here's the best part. You get done week 17 this year, and then you have a week off.
That's
right?
True.
Yeah.
And then it's FFPC playoff week. And I will do 5 shows. I will do 5 nights.
I'm in.
We got to, how about this? We get a Crack Rock night, and then we get a Sean night with us as well. And we go 5 nights.
Love it.
Love it.
All the wall coverage, FFPC playoff challenge.
Full, absolute free ride for all you guys.
Oh man, love it.
Okay. No deal unless you're tossing in espressos, blunts, and IPAs as well.
Yeah,
it's a tradition to get
real live live from the dispensary.
Well, you know what we can do is next summer we can Airbnb it up in the Berkshires and draft up there and do our go on the porch like you guys were doing in Nantucket with Denny and throw that disc around and see if we can get Denny to catch that frisbee again.
Sounds great.
Up in the Berkshires.
Then we can physically stop you from your Robert Woods pick this year. We can
That's true. We can actually stop.
We can hold you back.
No.
Right. You can stop me from physically fucking clicking that button before
your trump card. People won't have to ask about your trump card. You'll be like, wait, all the back. Let's think about this.
All right, guys. This has been fun.
Okay.
We have plans set for playoff weekend. Excited to see some of our FFPC team surge here. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. All around, make sure you're following Crack Rock on Twitter. You never know when you're going to get a random spaces from him. Make sure you are following Pat. He drops the walkthrough on NBC Sports Edge every Friday. I'm actually going to have Pat on my GPP show on Friday at noon Eastern. We're going to talk through how much Pat has been crushing the small field GPPs and also his insights on the week 11 slate. Ben Gretsch, of course, crushing it over with Stealing Signals. He's pumping out podcasts with Sean, Stealing Bananas. Make sure you guys are checking all of those out. That is the deal. Hop in the Discord. Join us. We will make these playoff pushes. It's going to be a nice finish here for Ship Chasing. We will see you guys next week. Who knows what we will get up to then?